500 years ago, a treasure that was literally an Inca king's ransom vanished into thin air. That's the story that I'll tell today on the Mysteries of Latin America. I'm Andrew, and today we're diving into one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in all of Latin American history, the lost treasure of the Inca king Atahualpa. We're talking about a treasure so massive that it changed the fate of an empire. The Spanish Empire, but an empire nevertheless. Gold and silver piled high enough to fill entire rooms. And then it all disappeared. For centuries, explorers, treasure hunters, and even entire governments have searched for it. And now a new discovery might have brought us closer than ever to finally discovering the truth. Friend, my mission here is simple: to uncover the myths, legends, history, and mysteries of this region and share them with you and the rest of the world. Now let's go find some treasure. So let's rewind it to 1532, 40 years after the discovery of America. The Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro, backed by the Spanish crown, led an expedition into the heart of the Inca Empire with reportedly just 168 men, a mix of seasoned soldiers, fortune seekers, and African slaves. But despite their small numbers, they had some overwhelming advantages: gunpowder, steel weapons, armor, horses, and immunity from the diseases they carried, none of which the Incas had ever encountered. And timing is everything. At the time, the Inca Empire was in chaos. A brutal war had raged between two brothers, Atahualpa and Huáscar, both claiming the throne after their father, Huayna Cápac, and his heir died, reportedly from those European-introduced diseases. Atahualpa won a decisive victory over his brother Huáscar, but he was still consolidating his power when Pizarro arrived. Pizarro quickly realized that the Inca Empire was a mess after the war, and Atahualpa didn't see him as a threat initially. Pizarro sent envoys to Atahualpa to a peaceful meeting in a town that would later be called Cajamarca in present-day Peru. Of course, he was secretly setting up an ambush. On November 16, 1532, Atahualpa marched in with thousands of unarmed warriors, thinking he was in control. But instead, the Spaniards attacked, slaughtering thousands in a single afternoon and taking Atahualpa alive. In a last-ditch attempt to save his own skin, and realizing that the Spaniards were driven by greed, Atahualpa made a desperate offer. He promised to fill a room with gold and another one with silver in exchange for his freedom. He even marked the height at which the treasure would reach on a wall. For months, the order spread across the empire. Gather the finest gold and silver from temples, palaces, and royal tombs. The treasures of the Inca, ornate jewelry, golden statues, ceremonial masks, and sacred artifacts were stripped from their shrines, some were melted down, and taken to Cajamarca. The Incas delivered on their promise. Historical records show that over 13,000 pounds of gold and 26,000 pounds of silver were collected, a ransom over $200 million in today's money. But despite fulfilling his end of the deal, spoiler alert, Atahualpa was never freed. The Spaniards, fearing he might rally his forces against them if he was released, executed him on July 26, 1533. And that's where the mystery begins, because legend says not all of the treasure had arrived yet. Some of it, maybe even most of it, was still in transit, carried along hidden mountain trails in the Andes. But when the couriers received word that Atahualpa had been killed, they refused to deliver the rest. Instead, they made it disappear. According to legend, the man responsible for hiding the treasure was Rumiñahui, one of Atahualpa's most trusted and loyal generals, a man known as ruthless, cunning, and unwaveringly loyal to the Inca cause. When word reached him that Atahualpa had been executed, Rumiñahui had a choice: surrender to the Spanish and hand over the remaining treasure, or vanish into the mountains and make sure that the rest of the gold and silver never fell into enemy hands. He made his decision. The treasure would disappear forever. The Spanish, who were out hunting the remaining gold, went out after it, and they were desperate to get the rest. But Rumiñahui was faster. He and his men, loyal Inca warriors to the end, refused to bow down to the invaders. So they gathered what was left of the ransom and left for the Andes. And his chosen hiding place? A region so wild and unforgiving that even modern explorers have a hard time surviving there. It's a land of sheer cliffs, twisting ravines, and mist-covered mountain peaks. It's a place called the Llanganates. Stretching across Ecuador, the Llanganates Mountains are a rugged, inhospitable range, a maze of deep valleys, hidden caves, and dense cloud forests, where visibility can drop to near zero in a heartbeat. It's a place where compasses fail, trails can vanish overnight, and entire expeditions have disappeared. In other words, the perfect place to hide a treasure no one was meant to find. For 500 years, treasure hunters, historians, and even entire governments have searched for the treasure, following cryptic clues, deciphering maps, and chasing whispers of buried wealth. Some claim to have seen it. Others who went after it never came back. But no one has ever come back with proof that they found a solid lead, much less the treasure. Until now. For centuries, the search for Atahualpa's treasure has been fueled by very hard-to-understand maps, whispered legends, and the accounts of those who claim to have seen gold hidden deep in the Andes Mountains. And now, for the first time in history, a verified lead has come up. A very recent expedition in December 2024, led by photographer Jorge Juan Anhalser, claims to have uncovered a long-lost Inca tale deep within the Llanganates mountain range. One that closely matches descriptions in one of the most infamous treasure-seeking documents in history. It's called the Derrotero de Valverde, which translates to the Valverde route, map, or trail. The Derrotero de Valverde is a 500-year-old document said to have been put together by a priest named Valverde, who learned the treasure's location from an old Inca guardian. According to the document, the path to the treasure includes very specific geographical markers. Mountain peaks, waterfalls, rivers, and valleys, all pointing to a hidden cache of gold. For centuries, scholars and treasure hunters have debated whether the Derrotero de Valverde was a coded map, a hoax, or a deliberate misdirection to lead people away from the real treasure's location. But Anhalser and his team found something incredible. A real, physical path that appears to match the document's descriptions. The path had been swallowed by centuries of dense vegetation, making it nearly invisible without modern tools or satellite guidance. On top of that, the extreme terrain, fog-drenched forests, steep ravines, and isolated mountain passes made exploration nearly impossible, especially without the exact coordinates or reliable historical reference. For 15 grueling days, the expedition followed this ancient Inca path, and they traced that path to a hidden lagoon, one long believed to be the final resting place of the Inca treasure. Now it seems like the story may not just be a legend anymore. At the site, the team found clear evidence of Inca activity, stone formations, ancient footpaths, and remnants of structures that suggest this wasn't just any Inca trail. This was a place of major importance. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Local indigenous communities have long spoken of a sacred lake, where gold was cast into the water to protect it from invaders. The discovery is groundbreaking, but there's one problem. If the treasure is there, it is deep underwater. Unfortunately, Anhalser's team didn't have the right equipment to do deep underwater surveys. They couldn't even calculate the accurate depth of the lagoon. It's that deep. And considering the treacherous conditions of the Llanganates mountain range, any expedition would need high-tech gear and expert divers to explore the depths of the lagoon. And that means deep pockets and access to the right technology and organization. But it is the closest that anyone has ever come. After centuries of failed expeditions, disappearances, and dead-end leads, the discovery of this ancient Inca trail might be the first real step in discovering Atahualpa's lost treasure. And for the first time in history, we might be able to prove that it actually exists. So while they actually didn't find Atahualpa's treasure, for the first time in centuries, there are real leads. A trail lost to time, a map that finally makes sense, and a location that's never been properly explored with modern technology. Future expeditions with divers, underwater scanners, and excavation teams will answer the question definitively if this is the place where Atahualpa's lost treasure is sunken. So what do you think? Could Atahualpa's lost Inca treasure still be sitting at the bottom of a lagoon in the Llanganates mountain range? Or is it possible that later on the treasure was moved to another location? Or was this a decoy for its real location? Or maybe it never existed in the first place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And once this story is updated, which it will be, I'll make sure to let you know how it all went. And if you have another version of the story of the treasure of Atahualpa or a story of your own, send it to me at andy@andycancun.com. That's andy@andycancun.com, or let me know about it in the comments. And if you like unsolved mysteries, lost legends, and real-life history, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another episode of the Mysteries of Latin America. Friend, and until we meet again, I'm Andrew. Adios.